Hi, and welcome to another episode. And what we've got here is an empty space. Now, what it is that my wife has completely outdone herself this year for getting me some really nice presents. I've been very, very lucky in the realms of she's done the research, found them, or at least like said, okay, you can have them for Christmas. In the realms of like this episode of where I got some Logitech rudders. I know they were very early in purchase compared to Christmas, but it was trying to get them when they were still in stock because they keep going in and out of stock, and she was a little bit worried of what to get me for Christmas back then. She's also got me Cyberpunk 2077 for the Xbox, which is this episode, which I've only played a little bit at the moment, but it does seem to be a nice game. I know there's been an awful lot of bugs and a lot of news behind it, they'll put it that way. But also, though, she's done a lot of research in buying other things, and she's not into computer games, she's not into consoles, she likes that I've got it as a hobby, but, that's about as far as it goes, really. Okay, the first one is this, which is a NES Pi 4 case by Retroflag, and it's compatible with the Raspberry Pi 4. It says NES Pi 4 case, SSD case, USB power supply. Have a looking around, all around the edges, nothing too exciting around the edges, but then on the back it does show instruction. SSD case, the main case, the micro HDMI, audio, LAN and DC in, and power supply. And then it says some other stuff, but they've covered it up with a barcode, which I realise they've got to stick a barcode somewhere, but the non-interesting side would have been a better place to stick it. Right, so let's open it up. Slide everything out. I have already been in here once before, I will point that out. But it was to check something. Now, the power supply unit happens to have a European plug, and it has an American plug on the main brick part of it. I don't know if there is like adapters versions where you get the UK plug with it, adapter with it, but personally I prefer always buying a UK brick anyway. Not that I don't trust these multi-powered versions, I just prefer to do that. So if you're thinking of getting one of these, keep an eye out if it has the UK adapter with it, and if it doesn't, you decide if you want to use a UK adapter or get yourself a UK power brick. Let's put that to the side for the moment, and then some instructions which we'll have a glance over when we've taken this out of here. So let's start at the front. It looks like one of those NES Classics, NES Minis that people have. I've actually got one of those, which is what I want to do in an upcoming episode, but for now, let's have a look at this one. So it's got power and reset, and obviously a little power LED. It's got USB 2 and USB 3 by the looks of it. Micro SD slot, micro HDMI at the back, audio port will be there for when you put the Pi inside, USB-C power, which I'm assuming is rerouted to the Pi itself, and then a network port, again, which I assume's rerouted to the Pi. And then on the very bottom it's got a picture of a micro SD card, and I think the whole idea is that's where you keep your micro SD card. In fact, it even says inside micro SD storage, so there we go, because obviously that's like the thing that's on the bottom of the real machine, not for micro SDs of course, but there is a cover over the back. Why can't I get this back on again? There's a particular way round to it. So let's pop open the flap, and then we have got a cartridge in here, and this is why I've been in here once before, because I wanted to test something, because my wonderful wife bought me that. So let's fit this in here, just to show how easy it is. Basically, it's got a couple of spikes at the back, which will go into the screw holes of the drive itself, and you click this together. And then when you're installing it properly, there's some more screws to be put in at the front here. But yeah, that fits nicely. It's the right size, because obviously some SSDs are a little bit thicker than other ones, but this one fits. Now that particular one is a terabyte one, so yes, it's quite big, but basically she knows that I like to put lots of different games on there when I get a chance, and she just got the biggest one she could get for a good price at the time. So I have actually looked for things on the internet already to go on there, and I found something. So when I play around with this properly, I will go through not how to install it, but I'm going to go through on how you actually build up this particular thing, because for this particular episode it would take too long to go through everything, and I'm sure I'm waffling too much as it is. But when you get inside, there's a USB cable to go from the SATA adapter that's in there. Got a piece of paper that says please remove the SD card before installing the Raspberry Pi, because you've probably been playing around with your Raspberry Pi. It has a fan, which I'll take out of its plastic bag because it's a bit too shiny to show up on video otherwise. There we go. So let me just grab the Raspberry Pi without trying to knock everything else down that I've got. So here we go, we've got a Raspberry Pi which I've taken out of the old case already. So it would sit, let's have a look what else is in here. It would sit here, and then the fan would sit over the top, if I get the right way round, like that, and then it plugs in elsewhere on this little motherboard. It plugs in just there, and then there's a few other bits and pieces you've got to play around with. If I can get this to come out of here now. I'll not bother putting all this back in the box. I will make an episode at a later date showing me building all this up and getting it going, which will come out relatively soon. I'm not going to span these out an episode a week for all these fancy gadgets that I've got. But as you can see, there's more USB, there's the network, the fan. It comes with some shims to help keep certain chips cool. It's got the micro HDMI to full-size HDMI adapter there. Even comes with a screwdriver, all the screws that you need, and then some thermal pads that will go in between the fan and the different chips that it's needed. So let's put that there, and then for the instructions, which I'll show again properly in another episode. Start over. Where did they start? They start over here. So it's got a safety install script and everything that you have to install on your Pi. Then there's a switch that you have to flick to make sure that it takes advantage of all that. Then you assemble it, and then some more assembly. Install your SD card, and then install your SSD. It's even pointing out that there is a storage lid. Don't know why that's step one. Oh, is that what it's meaning? I think I've finally figured it out. It's meaning you're supposed to use, yes, I think that's what it is. You're supposed to use the bit of plastic that's on here to go into here and then give yourself some leverage to pull the cartridge out. That's what it's meaning. Aha, I just figured it out. I've been looking at that a couple of times and was like, what's that doing? Anyway, lots of fun of assembling it seems to be done with this. As I say, I'll make an episode at a later time, but it's not going to be one a week while I'm showing all of these. I've said that, and I'm sure I'll say it again plenty of times. So let me just tidy this away and then show you the next thing. and it magically appears. We have a Seiden Light Gun, which I did take part in the Kickstart, but it was going to be part of my Christmas present. So with this one, yes, I picked it out myself, but at the same time, really wanted one because I do like light gun games, but with modern televisions, I'm sure many people know, they don't work with that. Well, this does, and it doesn't even need sensors. This is it. This is all you get in the box. Because it was a Kickstarter, there's no retail box, there's nothing like that. It came in a few different colours, but with this, what it does is there's an overlay of the light gun game you're trying to play, and it puts a white border around the edge. And with that, the fancy programming behind the drivers and everything like that senses that, and then figures out where you're pointing on the screen. So it should work on any TV, it should work with pretty much any computer in the realms of, as long as you can get the drivers going. There's going to be stuff for the future so that you can use it in even more systems, but we'll see how it goes with that. But in the meantime, I'm looking forward to playing around with this because even though it arrived, I got to plug it in to make sure it worked, but that was it. There's also a possibility of getting a recoil in the gun. Mine hasn't got that, though there is going to be kits that you can buy later on to fit it yourself. I didn't bother with the recoil because, really, recoils tend to make a lot of noise, and it'd be nice. And I'm sure there's probably a way to turn it off again, but yeah, I didn't get the recoil. But let's get into the next present. And okay, on to the next one. So it's an Elgato Stream Deck XL. Those that have been hanging around on the channel for quite some time will know from previous episodes I already have the standard sized one. But I fancied having the XL version for more buttons, just so that it's easier to do things straight away without having to go so deep into nested folders, which is what it actually speaks about on the side. Nested folders, which is folders within a folders. Instantly control your favorite tools and platforms, trigger single or multiple actions with one tap, blah 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 blah. I'm sure you can already get your head around on what this thing's for, but I would like to start streaming more on a certain platform, and so on and so forth. So I'd like to get on with doing that a lot more, and to be able to do that easily, it's nice to have something like this to play around with. And since I've already been playing around with the standard size one, I fancied having the XL version. So let's open this up. So you have a quick starter guide. There you go, that's how quick it is, because really all you've got to do is plug the thing in. But compared to the last one, look at the size of this thing. You get quite a lengthy USB-C cable. That should keep me going. If not, I'll have to get an extension cable. And let's open it up. So, ta-da. In comparison to the last one, which I will drag it across again, so let's make a bit of space and make it a bit tidy. So I don't know why I've gone and put the cable behind, because I might as well plug it in, because I'm not going to make a video on this one, there's no point, there's plenty of other people who've done that. So that's just for my own little sake. But this, what's that? Peely bit on the bottom. I did it all by itself. No satisfying peeling. Basically there's a little rubber sort of pad to stop it from sliding around, which on this mouse mat, a little bit, but it's going to stay still when you're pressing buttons. It's got a magnetic stand this time around, so you can hear it sort of snap into place. Or you can just have it like that if you don't want to use the stand at all. You don't have to use that. But the USB port is there on that side of it in reference. As I say, I'm not going to plug it in right this minute, but what I will do is give you an idea of how much bigger it is, because that's the amount of buttons you get on that one, and that's the amount of buttons you get on that one. So yeah, it's bigger. So it's going to take a bit more space up on my desk, but at the same time it's going to give me more buttons to play around with. which is nice. I mean, you can have a quick look on what I've got here. It's not as if I've got anything hiding, but I've got it. I can go into my favorite games or my launchers, start up the Elgato software, start up OBS, a few of the things I've been playing around with, video editing software, Twitter. You can just about see if it wasn't for the glare. There you go. YouTube counter, so if I'm streaming on YouTube, it shows me how many on there. Swapping between my speakers and my headphones, mute my mic, play around with my Elgato Light that I have, and some other silly things. And that's the default one that you used to have to start up. It just brings up website stuff. That's about it, really, for what I've got it set up at the moment. And yes, there's lots of blanks, but that's just because, quite frankly, I've deleted an awful lot off there because I want to start again. I don't want to start off with the same sort of workflow that I had before, because I think I started off with it was a good workflow to go through on it, but I want to start with a different angle of logic of my workflow on this one. So let's magically make another one appear. Ta-da! So we have the Atari Flashback X. They have had previous versions of where it was just like plasticky buttons, whereas this has switches. Now, how good they are, I don't know if they're metal, I don't know if they're just plastic but metal looking, but I always preferred this look of it. And believe it or not, I actually mentioned this to my wife like a year or even more ago, but she remembered and obviously made note of something. But it says it can do wired controllers, 720p HD output, save and resume games, rewind games, and it mentions a few different games that it has. It seems to be that it's at games that actually make them, or the source that does them, here in the UK at least. And then there's a mention of a few of the games that are on the back here, because it says it's got 110 built-in games. And many, many more. Well, these and many, many more. So let's have a look inside. I did actually just open this up, but my Alexa decided they wanted to do a notification while I was recording. So let's try again. Straight away, you're in there. There's no plasticky stuff. There's no behind. So we've got instructions. We've got the little console. We've got joystick. We've got another joystick. I'll show all these properly in a moment, but it's a bit difficult to show you when everything's just sort of just sat here. And then a power supply unit with a UK plug on it. Right, and that's it. So you've got sort of the egg box affair, but there's no plastic bags keeping the dust off. There's no extra ties. There's no extra bits of tape. There's nothing really to go over the top about. So power supply unit, good. Player 2 joystick, it even says so. It says P2. You can see there, yep. And then you've got the joystick that actually controls everything from way over wherever you're sat, because it has a menu, a select, a start and a rewind button. So player 1's in control like it should be. So how does it feel? A bit plasticky compared to a real Atari joystick. Okay, annoyingly Alexa's just going off at one. Subscriptions. Yeah. Anyway, joystick, how does it feel? A bit plasticky compared to a real Atari original from the 70s. But who knows? Don't know how it's going to feel. And what it looks like? Well, it looks like this. It feels nice. The switches lock in or they flick back depending. It says left difficulty A, B. Don't really know what that means. Power on or off. As for the switches, I believe they're plastic made to look metal. But if you can do everything from within the joystick, it shouldn't really matter. And obviously it's got pretend cartridge slot. So look at the manual. Right, so from the get-go, you've got your difficulty switches. So left is it difficulty A, B, so you can make it harder for one player than the other. Game resets, blah 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 blah. And on the bottom it shows all of that. System reset, there's a system reset. You know, you've got to stick a pin in there sort of thing. Just there. And apart from that, everything as standard. Here's micro USB to charge it, so it will charge it to turn it on, 5 volts, you know, so, but as I said, it comes with a power supply unit if it's on. How do you get started? It does say paddles. How do I play the 3 or 4 player games? The 3 or 4 player games are designed for paddle controllers. Please plug in your paddle controllers into each controller port to run the game. So, note, paddles are not included. So I wonder where you're supposed to get the paddles from. I do have some paddles. I have the driving paddles and I have the tennis paddles. So from the original system, I don't have the original system, but I do have them controllers. I don't know which ones would be best. I'll have to try to test that at some other time. But as I said before, I'm going to come back to these things and we'll have a proper look at them later on. And it says, how do I update the firmware? So it is possible to update the firmware on the back of these. And I'll check to see about sticking on some other firmware so you can maybe have more games. I'll check that out as well. I know there is a bit of a way to do it, but I haven't done it, obviously. So where's the SD card slot? So maybe you have to open it up and everything. I'll make it dangle out with a, you know, a USB hub SD card. We'll find that out next time. Let's go on to the next present. So I've had to zoom out a bit, but this is a t-shirt that my wife got me, Lemmings Celebrating Christmas. For those that follow the channel or know me personally, I'm a big fan of Lemmings. Sort of started from a year ago, sort of a random thing, but yeah, I've always enjoyed Lemmings, but from last year it started to be a big thing for me. And she also got me this, which is an Umbrella Lemming, number 17. I'm sure there's lots of other different computer characters and everything that people know about, but she got me this one because she saw it and thought it was cute and I should have it. On the back it mentions that it's the Umbrella Lemming from Lemmings 1991, so forth and so forth. So let's move on to the next thing. Okay, let's have a look inside this one with all the wonderful glare. Acorn, A World in Pixels by Design. Right, let's open it up, not cut it. Let's do it across the bottom so that if I do make a mistake, nobody will know apart from us lot. There we go, that's it in there. Tear it off. There we go. Slide it out, and obviously I cannot show you every single page because I would get into trouble. Nice decent box for it. Oh, there's the back by the way. And if you don't know what Acorn is, Acorn was a company that made lots of computers back in the day. They made, for example, ones that I currently own. An Acorn Electron, an Acorn BBC series of computers, and an Acorn Archimedes. Well, Acorn are actually the people that developed the ARM chip, which of course is making a lot of jumping up and down history at the moment because Apple's interested in sticking them into their computers. And yet here in Britain we were using ARM chip computers in our schools way before anybody realised really what an ARM chip is. So anyway, let's have a quick look at random pages so we don't get into trouble. So there's an Acorn Electron, Acorn Soft, which is part of the software that you could get of stuff. Got to Who Dares Wins, Arcadians, a Killer Gorilla, looks like some other game, doesn't it? Some other games. So if you've actually seen any of these pixel type books before, you'll know what this is all about, but this is all about the Acorn games. So I'm going to look forward to looking through that. Let's have a look in the back, see if it says anything. No, nothing on the back. Has got a little thing to help you keep where you are. So let's put that back in its box. And then, for the wonderful people out there who know how to do a drum roll, get ready, because you're going to have to start doing a drum roll. Because I can't do one. Well, here we go. A power supply unit for the Amiga. Do some people realise what that one's for? Let's move this out of the way without breaking everything. Dun, dun, dun. Sliding other things about, you might realise. And then this. No, still haven't got it. Oh. Maybe this would help. No? Oh. Will that help? No? Oh. I suppose these might help. Yep. You're getting there. I'm sure you've figured it out now because you can read. Because it said it right there, didn't it? She only went and got me a CD32 with a expansion card, a riser card. These are called, aren't they? And the expansion card that's in there is a Terrible Fire 330. So it's got an 030 accelerator card in there. It's got 64 megabytes of memory, as in main memory, and it's got a 16 gigabyte compact flash or SD card in there. I can't remember which one it is now. Too excited because I still haven't played this. In there, and the riser card allows for having RGB, a PS2 keyboard, hence the keyboard that you saw. But I believe even from in there, actually you can still just stick one in the side there. I can't remember. I don't really know very much about these. Obviously there's your joystick ports, and that's it really. Into the realms of I start an episode and go woo, because I'm really looking forward to playing around with this. I've not had chance since getting it for Christmas. I've plugged it in to make sure it turns on, and it does. From what my wife has told me, she made sure that it's one that says it's recapped already as well. So I'm really looking forward to playing with this. I've always wanted one, never had the chance of getting one. And as we all know, the prices on these things have gone up and up and up. And my wife says, well, basically she wanted to get me one because she didn't want to get it to a point that it was a ridiculous amount of money, more than it already is. So, yeah, as I say, she really has spoilt me this year. I don't think she would normally do, but as we know, we've all had a bit of a rough year this year. And this is what she wants to do. And I'm not going to stop her. So, I hope this has been somewhat interesting. I don't mean to go, nay, look what I got for Christmas. I don't mean it like that. It's just, I've happened to be very lucky this year. I've not always had Christmases where I've been spoilt like this. I've had some rough Christmases in the past. So, I am looking forward to getting this going and seeing it do stuff. I probably will stream this more than I will make an episode about it. So, check me out over on there as well when I get streaming with this. And make sure there's some games going on it, because currently I don't have any CD32 games currently. I have checked out an audio CD and it seems to spin that round and understand that. So if it's going to do that, I assume it's going to work with everything else. But I will make episodes on some of the other things so that we can see what the front ends are like and is it possible to mod them, so on and so forth, as I normally do. Oh, by the way, the other thing that this can use is a mouse. So I already have an Amiga mouse, as you probably know, because I have the 1200, so it should be fine with that. Anyway, I am waffling, I know I am, I apologise. I hope now that we've got past Christmas, it's been a nice Christmas for many people. Doesn't matter if you've been spoilt or not. Hopefully your loved ones have been around you as much as has been allowed at this time of the year. But I do hope that we all have a great and wonderful 2021. Happy New Year, everyone. And as always, happy gaming.